We used to call it the 4 o'clocks, and we knew it was coming on when this happened. It's basically the Australian equivalent to EastEnders Duff Dups. Basically, everything pauses, and then it goes kind of browny, and then the yellow credits run. Yeah, everything was slower in the old days. It used to take forever to get through these credits. However, the excitement would slowly build until the end of the credits, and then over the adverts until this happened. Yeah, the 3-year-old Johnny Robinson was present for peak CITV. Not that I remember a lot of it. There is clearly bits that I do remember, and although the children's channel was a thing, it wasn't really commonplace to plonk your kids in front of the telly for a few hours and let them get on with it. No, the telly was a bit of a treat. I mean, a daily one, but it still was a treat, even though we had our TV on literally all the time, okay? I'm the only person I knew at that point who had their telly on all day long, which was a bit weird, I guess, but actually that was something I was used to. Kids didn't get the control though. No, mum and dad did, which meant that it was mostly Lifestyle or Sky Channel on in my house, or BBC, or some terrible soaps, or some chat shows during the day. But yeah, we did have more than 4 channels. CITV though was essential viewing every day at 4 o'clock until it started starting at like 3:30 or something. I knew that my favourite shows were going to be on, and I was aware of CBBC over on BBC One, and they had some really good programmes, and me and my brothers and my sister, we liked some of those, and we'd sometimes flick over. For instance, we always thought that ITV Saturday mornings were a bit weak compared to Going Live and Live and Kicking, although SMTV and also Ministry of Mayhem did redeem itself from that. Now for me, Roland Rat and Whack-A-Day was a different story, because that wasn't CITV, that was TVAM. Get it right. Yeah, that was different. So back then, you were either a CBBC kid or a CITV kid. Me, my brother and my sister, we were all CITV kids, but we would pop it on CBBC in the morning. And again, yes, we had Nickelodeon, and we also had Cartoon Network, TCC, Fox Kids, and everything else under the sun, but as far as after school was concerned, we were loyal to CITV, and the others would only get a shoe-in if it wasn't on. Now, my favourite CITV was when I was around 7 or 8 years old, and I just want to take this time to appreciate the genius that is Tommy Boyd.
Good afternoon, welcome to Children's ITV. We've got a fantastic day for you today. We've got 3 really great programmes on Children's ITV, finishing up with an absolute exclusive, something very, very exciting. Make sure everybody who's in the house is around the television at around about 5:05 this afternoon. Now, what shall we do next? I could tell you what's on. I could tell you that we've got an interesting competition, or you can be part of a joke. Yes, I thought that's what you prefer. OK, it's the famous telephone joke, which you may not have heard of. All you have to do is, when I go like that, you say, "Who was it, Tom?" OK? You can play this on somebody at home. Here we go. You don't say. You don't say. Goodbye. Goodbye. I don't know. He didn't say. Let's settle down and watch Scooby.
Yes, it was a terrible joke, but what I would say is that he had the right kind of energy for it, and it wasn't that kind of energy that's like, "Hey kids, it's fun time." No, it was that energy that was like, "Yeah, here we are, let's go, let's get on with it." Now, I'm at that Goldilocks age where I can say I was there for peak CITV at the same time as not being classed as elderly or anything like that. I recently joined a TV-based Discord server where it clearly became obvious that I was the oldest member. So I left. Why? Because it's freaking weird to be on a server with a bunch of kids, and it looks bad. No disrespect to you all, by the way, I'm sure you're very nice people. The thing is, your CITV is different to my CITV, and the CITV of people of my age. So CITV was mostly programmes like made in the UK by regional companies like Granada and Yorkshire, Central, Thames, LWT, channels that probably didn't exist when you were born. Or they did, as they still do, but it wasn't as obvious. Now, my CITV was on the main channel after school. Theirs was on its own channel all the time. My CITV was Tom's the Tank Engine, Raggy Dolls,
It's the Raggy Dolls. Raggy Dolls. Dolls like you and me.
Funhouse,
It's a real crazy show where anything will occur.
Rainbow,
The whole world with a rainbow.
Rosie and Jim,
Rosie and Jim, finding stories.
Zap, and at a push, Jungle Run.
Hiya, welcome to Jungle Run with me, Dominic Wood. Now, at the moment, we're right here at the tippity top of Tiger.
Their CITV was Almost Naked Animals, Horrid Henry, Pokemon, Scooby-Doo, and Mr. Bean animated series. The closest thing that we do share is My Parents Are Aliens. I might get a bit of hate for this, but to be honest, it was a pretty shoddy programme. I mean, look at it, the sets were terrible, and the music sucked. The animation looked like somebody learnt how to use Adobe Flash like a week ago. It's one of those shows where you think, oh, it's really good, and you look back at it and it was absolutely terrible, and you can see that Yorkshire Television was totally not up for it. I think they weren't prepared for it to be as successful as it was because it aired for 8 series. Also, it dated badly, as this clip shows.
3 days to go to his book signing. Finally going to get to meet him. Bill Gates, the king of the geeks. Hold me, thrill me, kiss me, build me. Yeah, well, I'm not going to go unless I get some new clothes.
Credit where credit's due, the jokes land quite well. Strangely, on my CITV, we had a wider range of shows, and they didn't have a very long shelf life. But on the CITV channel, they had less variety, but a longer shelf life. My Parents Are Aliens, for instance, aired for ages after it got cancelled, pretty much playing the same thing over and over again. Plus, in the past 10 years, CITV haven't necessarily made their own shows, and they've just taken on shows that are currently available on other channels in the UK. Most of those coming from Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon. Now, that's not to say that one is more important than the other. I would argue, though, that one had richer content than the other one, which makes the demise of CITV become ever more painful because they missed out. They missed out on the good stuff. And the demise happened a long time ago. Peak CITV is Matthew Corbett having a breakdown.
So soothing, it's so restful.
Peak CITV is skipping to the door and chanting, "There's somebody at the door, there's somebody at the door," and knowing where it came from. In Peak CITV, there were edgy kids dramas that tackled really serious subjects that kids should really know about, like child abuse, like a monster in a land of other monsters with wheels for legs. A man and his family, all with spoon hands, go and visit a moon made from a button in a spaceship made out of a Heinz baked bean can. Peak CITV was an animation about a superhero mouse that was drawn with bits of newspaper holding it together. That is the CITV that died years ago. Most of it was made at studios that weren't too far away from where you lived. And since the extinction of those franchises that used to produce those programs, most of it's from America. This might sound a bit harsh, but CITV has been living off an era that died 20 years ago. They're not going to start making local TV programs again, other than the news. Peak CITV made an effort to connect with its audience, and it made an effort to have meaningful content. But hey, that's just the view of some grown-up guy in his late 30s. CITV was made for kids, not for me right now. Some sweaty guy in a hot loft talking into a microphone. No, because it doesn't matter how much I love watching old and current kids' TV programs, It's not for me, it's for my kids. Now, my kids are lucky enough to have the internet. I couldn't say the same for some of their school friends, for instance. Now, I might have had multi-channel television, but that was pretty much the only luxury we had. So in regards to disadvantaged kids, well, I know what it feels like to be one. And I know, also being a parent, push comes to shove, if my internet has to go off to go and get food, I'm getting food. And pretty much in this day and age, if you do that, you're cut off from society completely. Plus, if I still want to watch it on my actual TV, I need to go and get something that will make me do that, like a box of some sort. It might not sound like a lot, but actually, to a child, it does mean a lot. For instance, one of my kids was naughty recently and we had to think of a punishment, and the punishment was to take away the computer and the internet and everything, so the only thing they could do was play with their toys or watch the telly. They opted to watch the telly, and let's just say it didn't go down very well. They mostly liked CBBC, however they didn't like the Saturday mashup because they likened it to torture. The worst show on television, quote, Finn Robinson, the human boy aged 9. The thing is, having kids of my own for the last 15 years, I can safely say that actually none of them have been interested in what's happened on CITV. I'd say the same for CBBC. I think they're a bit dated, but, you know, they're doing a little bit better than CITV was. And then CBeebies completely smashing it out the water. Their demographic requires people to pick for them what they're going to watch. And guess what? Turns out they're picking the right stuff. The thing is, with kids' TV today, other than the big channels like Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, let's be honest, it's a bit of a swizz, and I kind of feel bad for the kids about it. Now, let's not beat around the bush here. What this is really about is the cash, the dollar, the dosh, the wonga, the yakapakakas. Because isn't it odd that the CITV channel closed after a fair few years of having to be restricted on their advertising? For instance, last time I checked, McDonald's was restricted about what they could sell on there. I don't even know if they can anymore. I think it's the same for sweets as well. You can't sell sweets on CITV, so the only things they've got is the toys. So yeah, it's sad that CITV is closing, as it will be when CBBC closes, but the argument is that viewing figures have dropped, and maybe if they'd made an effort where they would do something worth watching that kids today could relate to, it may have been a different situation, on demand or not. So yeah, it's sad to see CITV go, but unfortunately, due to recent events, this isn't a good bye, this is a bad bye. Why? This is not only our childhoods, but our kids' childhoods being thrown down the trapdoor. And I think 40 years of CITV, with them not acknowledging it over the last couple of days, says it all.
Something down.